Welcome to the Sleepy Scoreboard. Tonight we take a quiet journey through NBA history, one championship at a time. From 1947 to 2025, we'll gently revisit each finals and its champions. No buzzer beaters here, just calm storytelling. Let's begin. 1947, Philadelphia Warriors, 4-1 versus Chicago Stags. The first NBA championship, then known as the BAA Finals, featured the Philadelphia Warriors. Led by Joe Fulks, they defeated the Chicago Stags in 5 games. The style was slower, the shots less accurate, but the birth of professional basketball was underway. 1948, Baltimore Bullets, 4-2 versus Philadelphia Warriors. The Bullets captured their only title by taking down the Warriors. With a balanced roster and tough defense, they brought a championship to Baltimore before the NBA even fully took form. 1949, Minneapolis Lakers, 4-2 versus Washington Capitals. Behind the towering George Mikan, the Lakers began their dynasty. McCann's dominance in the paint made scoring easier and set the tone for post-centric basketball. 1950, Minneapolis Lakers, 4-2 versus Syracuse Nationals. Another championship for Minneapolis, once again riding McCann's shoulders. Their half-court offense and stifling defense were unmatched in the early NBA years. 1951, Rochester Royals, 4-3 versus New York Knicks. A tense 7-game series saw the Royals edge out the Knicks. Arnie Risen and Bob Davies made critical plays, delivering Rochester its only title. 1952, Minneapolis Lakers, 4-3 versus New York Knicks. The Lakers held off the Knicks in another tight series. Mikan continued to lead with strength and composure, earning a 3rd ring. 1953, Minneapolis Lakers, 4-1 versus New York Knicks. This time, the Lakers had little trouble. Their experience and interior presence overwhelmed New York, completing a rare three-peat. 1954, Minneapolis Lakers, 4-3 versus Syracuse Nationals, a fitting end to their early dynasty. George Mikan won his 5th title before retiring, cementing himself as basketball's first true superstar. 1955, Syracuse Nationals, 4-3 versus Fort Wayne Pistons, led by Dolph Schayes. Syracuse battled back in a back-and-forth finals. Free throws and smart decision-making sealed the win in Game 7. 1956, Philadelphia Warriors, 4-1 versus Fort Wayne Pistons. Paul Arizin and Neil Johnston were unstoppable, leading the Warriors to their 2nd championship with a blend of shooting and size. 1957, Boston Celtics, 4-3 versus St. Louis Hawks, the beginning of Boston's reign. In Game 7, an overtime thriller, Bill Russell's defense helped the Celtics pull out the win. It was the start of something legendary. 1958, St. Louis Hawks, 4-2 versus Boston Celtics. The Hawks broke through, capitalizing on Bill Russell's injury. Bob Pettit scored 50 points in Game 6, one of the greatest finals performances ever. 1959, Boston Celtics, 4-0 versus Minneapolis Lakers. Russell, Cousy, and Sam Jones dominated the series. This sweep launched an 8-year Celtics championship streak, the longest in NBA history. 1960, Boston Celtics, 4-3 versus St. Louis Hawks. The rivalry continued, and Boston prevailed in another 7-game battle. Russell anchored the paint, while the Celtics ran fast and passed faster. 1961, Boston Celtics, 4-1 versus St. Louis Hawks. This time, Boston took control early. With improved bench depth and relentless energy, the Celtics kept rolling. 1962, Boston Celtics, 4-3 versus Los Angeles Lakers. A classic Game 7, complete with a Frank Selvey missed jumper at the buzzer, kept the title in Boston. The Celtics had their hands full but pulled through. 1963, Boston Celtics, 4-2 versus Los Angeles Lakers. Boston's dynasty didn't slow down. Sam Jones's clutch shots and Russell's rim protection proved too much. 1964, Boston Celtics 4-1 versus San Francisco Warriors. Bill Russell shut down Wilt Chamberlain, and Boston outpaced the Warriors with swift passes and efficient shots. 1965, Boston Celtics 4-1 versus Los Angeles Lakers. Another year, another finals win. John Havlicek had started to make his mark, and the Lakers had no answer for Boston's machine. 1966, Boston Celtics 4-3 versus Los Angeles Lakers. Red Auerbach's final season as coach ended in dramatic fashion. Boston held off LA once again, closing the book on a near decade of dominance. 1967, Philadelphia 76ers 4-2 versus San Francisco Warriors. Wilt Chamberlain finally got over the hump, leading the Sixers to a powerful championship. They broke Boston's reign and did so convincingly. 1968, Boston Celtics 4-2 versus Los Angeles Lakers. Back from the shadows, the Celtics reclaimed the crown. Veteran savvy and familiar schemes carried them past LA. 1969, Boston Celtics 4-3 versus Los Angeles Lakers, Russell's final game. A dramatic Game 7 saw Boston steal the title in LA. Jerry West won Finals MVP, still the only player to do so in a loss. 1970, New York Knicks 4-3 versus Los Angeles Lakers. The Knicks won their first title with teamwork and toughness. Willis Reed famously limped onto the court in Game 7, inspiring the crowd. Walt Frazier backed it up with 36 points and 19 assists. 1971, Milwaukee Bucks 4-0 versus Baltimore Bullets. In just their third season, the Bucks, led by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Oscar Robertson, swept the Bullets. It was a display of dominance and harmony between two all-time greats. 1972, Los Angeles Lakers 4-1 versus New York Knicks. After years of close calls, the Lakers finally broke through. Jerry West and Wilt Chamberlain led the way as LA claimed its first title since moving from Minneapolis. 1973, New York Knicks 4-1 versus Los Angeles Lakers. Revenge was sweet for the Knicks. With smart passing and stifling defense, they cruised past the Lakers for their second and final championship of the 20th century. 1974, Boston Celtics 4-3 versus Milwaukee Bucks. A dramatic series that featured two titans, Kareem and Cowens, going back and forth. Boston edged it out in Game 7 with hustle and resilience. 1975, Golden State Warriors 4-0 versus Washington Bullets. Rick Barry led an underdog Warriors team to a stunning sweep. His leadership and shooting silenced the critics and brought Golden State its first title in nearly 2 decades. 1976, Boston Celtics 4-2 versus Phoenix Suns. Game 5 went into triple overtime and became an instant classic. Boston ultimately pulled away behind the steady hands of John Havlicek and Joe White. 1977, Portland Trail Blazers 4-2 versus Philadelphia 76ers. Bill Walton dominated the finals with his rebounding, passing, and presence. Portland rallied after losing the first 2 games to win 4 straight and claim their only title. 1978, Washington Bullets 4-3 versus Seattle Supersonics. Wes Unseld's calm leadership and Elvin Hayes' scoring helped the Bullets squeak past the Sonics in a hard-fought 7-game series. 1979, Seattle Supersonics 4-1 versus Washington Bullets. Seattle took their revenge from the year before, controlling the tempo and clamping down on defense. Dennis Johnson and Gus Williams led the way. 1980, Los Angeles Lakers 4-2 versus Philadelphia 76ers. Magic Johnson, just a rookie, played center in Game 6 for the injured Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and delivered one of the most iconic performances in finals history. He scored 42 points, grabbed 15 rebounds, and led the Lakers to the title. 1981, Boston Celtics, 4-2 vs Houston Rockets. The Celtics, led by second-year star Larry Bird, came back from a 3-1 deficit in the Eastern Conference Finals and carried that momentum into the championship. They beat a gritty Rockets squad and reclaimed their place at the top. 1982, Los Angeles Lakers, 4-2 vs Philadelphia 76ers. The Lakers and Sixers met again, and LA's fast break offense, led by Magic Johnson and Kareem, proved too quick and too efficient. They secured their second title in 3 years. 1983, Philadelphia 76ers, 4-0 versus Los Angeles Lakers. Faux was Moses Malone's prediction, and he nearly nailed it. With Julius Erving and Malone dominating, the Sixers swept the Lakers and delivered a long-awaited title to Philadelphia. 1984, Boston Celtics, 4-3 versus Los Angeles Lakers. In one of the most intense finals ever, Larry Bird and Magic Johnson squared off. The Celtics overcame the heat and physicality to win in 7 games, reigniting a historic rivalry. 1985, Los Angeles Lakers, 4-2 versus Boston Celtics. This time, the Lakers got their revenge. Kareem was dominant, and Magic orchestrated the offense with grace. LA finally beat Boston in the finals. 1986, Boston Celtics, 4-2 versus Houston Rockets. Considered by many as the best Celtics team ever, the '86 squad featured Bird, McHale, and Parrish at their peak. They took down a young Rockets team and cruised to the title. 1987, Los Angeles Lakers, 4-2 versus Boston Celtics. Magic Johnson hit the famous Junior Skyhook in Game 4. The Lakers were fast, fluid, and focused, claiming their 4th title of the decade. 1988, Los Angeles Lakers, 4-3 versus Detroit Pistons. The Lakers became the first team in 2 decades to repeat as champions. James Worthy earned Finals MVP with a triple-double in Game 7, helping LA hold off the rising Pistons. 1989, Detroit Pistons, 4-0 versus Los Angeles Lakers. Detroit finally broke through. Known as the Bad Boys, they played suffocating defense and swept an injury-depleted Lakers team to win their first title. 1990, Detroit Pistons, 4-1 versus Portland Trail Blazers. The Pistons repeated as champions. Isaiah Thomas led the charge, and their defense and physicality continued to define their identity. 1991, Chicago Bulls, 4-1 versus Los Angeles Lakers. Michael Jordan finally broke through. The Bulls overcame Magic Johnson and the Lakers to claim their first title and start a dynasty. 1992, Chicago Bulls, 4-2 versus Portland Trail Blazers. Jordan famously shrugged after hitting 6 first-half threes in Game 1. The Bulls outpaced the Blazers and made it back-to-back championships. 1993, Chicago Bulls, 4-2 versus Phoenix Suns. Charles Barkley pushed the Bulls to the brink, but Jordan delivered once again. Chicago won in 6, sealing their first three-peat. 1994, Houston Rockets, 4-3 versus New York Knicks. With Jordan retired, the stage was set for Hakeem Olajuwon. He dominated on both ends, and the Rockets edged out the Knicks in a tense 7-game series. 1995, Houston Rockets, 4-0 versus Orlando Magic. Olajuwon continued his dominance. Despite the Magic's youth and talent, led by Shaq and Penny, the Rockets swept them to repeat as champs. 1996, Chicago Bulls, 4-2 versus Seattle Supersonics. After a record-setting 72-10 season, the Bulls returned to glory. Jordan, Pippen, and Rodman overwhelmed Seattle and started their second three-peat. 1997, Chicago Bulls, 4-2 versus Utah Jazz. Jordan's flu game became legend. Even when ill, he led Chicago past a tough Utah team, hitting clutch shots and never backing down. 1998, Chicago Bulls, 4-2 versus Utah Jazz. Jordan's final shot in a Bulls uniform, a crossover and jumper over Brian Russell, sealed the sixth title. A perfect ending to a perfect run. 1999. San Antonio Spurs, 4-1 versus New York Knicks. In a lockout-shortened season, the Spurs leaned on Tim Duncan and David Robinson. They methodically handled the Knicks and started a new era in San Antonio. 2000. Los Angeles Lakers, 4-2 versus Indiana Pacers. Shaquille O'Neal was a force of nature, averaging over 38 points per game. With Kobe Bryant emerging as a clutch sidekick, the Lakers captured their first title of the new millennium. 2001. Los Angeles Lakers, 4-1 versus Philadelphia 76ers. Despite Allen Iverson's legendary Game 1 performance, the Lakers were nearly perfect. They won 15 of 16 playoff games, showcasing dominance on both ends of the floor. 2002. Los Angeles Lakers, 4-0 versus New Jersey Nets. Completing a three-peat, Shaq and Kobe overwhelmed the Nets. Their chemistry and size left no doubt as LA rolled to another title. 2003. San Antonio Spurs, 4-2 versus New Jersey Nets. Tim Duncan was masterful, winning Finals MVP and leading the Spurs with poise. This marked the end of David Robinson's career and the start of San Antonio's dynasty. 2004. Detroit Pistons, 4-1 versus Los Angeles Lakers. Detroit's defense suffocated LA's star-studded roster. Chauncey Billups led a balanced attack as the Pistons stunned the league with their unselfish play and grit. 2005. San Antonio Spurs, 4-3 versus Detroit Pistons. A defensive slugfest that went the distance. Duncan and Manu Ginobili were steady, while Robert Horry's Game 5 heroics proved pivotal. 2006. Miami Heat, 4-2 versus Dallas Mavericks. Dwyane Wade exploded onto the national stage, averaging over 34 points per game. With Shaq and clutch performances, Miami stormed back after being down 0-2. 2007. San Antonio Spurs, 4-0 versus Cleveland Cavaliers. LeBron James made his finals debut, but the Spurs experience was too much. Tony Parker earned MVP honors in a dominant sweep. 2008. Boston Celtics, 4-2 versus Los Angeles Lakers. The newly formed Big Three of Pierce, Garnett, and Allen brought Boston its 17th title. Their Game 6 blowout win was a statement. 2009. Los Angeles Lakers, 4-1 versus Orlando Magic. Kobe Bryant secured his first title without Shaq, leading a focused Lakers team past Dwight Howard's Magic. 2010. Los Angeles Lakers, 4-3 versus Boston Celtics. A dramatic Game 7 capped off this rivalry. Kobe fought through poor shooting to lead his team, while Pau Gasol dominated the paint. 2011. Dallas Mavericks, 4-2 versus Miami Heat. Dirk Nowitzki delivered a masterclass in perseverance. The Mavericks outplayed the new Big Three in Miami and claimed their first championship. 2012. Miami Heat, 4-1 versus Oklahoma City Thunder. LeBron James finally got his ring. With Dwyane Wade and Chris Bosh alongside him, the Heat won convincingly against the young Thunder. 2013. Miami Heat, 4-3 versus San Antonio Spurs. Ray Allen's clutch 3 in Game 6 saved the series. Miami would go on to win in Game 7, completing back-to-back championships. 2014. San Antonio Spurs, 4-1 versus Miami Heat. A lesson in team basketball. The Spurs avenged the prior year's loss with stunning ball movement and breakout performances from Kawhi Leonard. 2015. Golden State Warriors, 4-2 versus Cleveland Cavaliers. Stephen Curry and the Warriors launched a new era of basketball. With pace, space, and threes, they outlasted a depleted Cavs team. 2016. Cleveland Cavaliers, 4-3 versus Golden State Warriors. LeBron James delivered on his promise. With a historic comeback from 3-1 down and the block in Game 7, Cleveland won its first title. 2017. Golden State Warriors, 4-1 versus Cleveland Cavaliers. With Kevin Durant added to the roster, the Warriors were nearly unbeatable. Durant earned Finals MVP in a dominant run. 2018, Golden State Warriors, 4-0 versus Cleveland Cavaliers. The Warriors completed a sweep, cementing their dynasty. Curry, Durant, and Klay Thompson were in complete sync. 2019, Toronto Raptors, 4-2 versus Golden State Warriors. Led by Kawhi Leonard, the Raptors won their first title. With Golden State dealing with injuries, Toronto capitalized with smart, steady play. 2020, Los Angeles Lakers, 4-2 versus Miami Heat. In the NBA bubble, LeBron James and Anthony Davis led the Lakers to a title during a season defined by resilience and uncertainty. 2021, Milwaukee Bucks, 4-2 versus Phoenix Suns. Giannis Antetokounmpo's 50-point Game 6 performance sealed the Bucks' first championship in 50 years. A triumph of loyalty and power. 2022, Golden State Warriors, 4-2 versus Boston Celtics. Steph Curry finally earned his Finals MVP. The Warriors' experience and composure helped them outlast a young Celtics team. 2023, Denver Nuggets, 4-1 versus Miami Heat. Nikola Jokic dominated with passing and patience. Denver won its first title with balance, chemistry, and a calm confidence. 2024, Boston Celtics, 4-1 versus Dallas Mavericks. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown led the Celtics to banner 18. Their defense and shot-making proved too much for the young Mavs. 2025, Oklahoma City Thunder, 4-3 versus Indiana Pacers. A new champion emerged. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Chet Holmgren carried the Thunder to their first NBA title. Game 7 was tight, but OKC held strong and made history. From Mikan to Curry, from Russell to LeBron, from Jordan's 6 to OKC's first, every year a different story, every finals a different chapter. Let your mind drift across hardwood floors and championship banners. Feel the hush of the crowd before the tip-off, the creak of sneakers on polished wood, the whisper of a net. Let your breath slow. Let the stories rest beside you. And when the final buzzer sounds, not with chaos but with calm, you'll know. Basketball at its heart is rhythm, memory, and peace. Sleep well from the Sleepy Scoreboard.